But now that I'm looking at it, now that I see the back of the head, I think I want to bring this hair back. I'm thinking I'd like this hair. Maybe not so many or so big, but I do like the highlight behind on on the side of the head. So I'm gonna do a copy. Don't be afraid of copy paste. And I'm gonna paint. I'm gonna I'm gonna paste that on top of the background, and I'm gonna mask it. I'm gonna paint and with black to soften the edges. Really soft brush. So I have the hair back. I'm gonna unlink the mask to the layer because I want to transform the layer without affecting the mask. So when you want to do that, you unlink the mask and the layer, then you can free transform the layer without altering the mask. So I'm gonna free transform it, and now I'm gonna mask out the duplicate ear and neck. Make it fit. Oh, and make sure you're moving the layer and not the mask. So the mask stays where I drew it and you're only moving the hair. I'm gonna fix the mask a little bit by painting black to hide what I don't want showing. I want a soft edge there, a really soft edge in the back. Yeah, definitely. I like it better like this. What I would do is actually merge every layer together if I were working on this image, because I already know I'm not going to change anything, but now I'm going to create a stump layer. Remember pressing Command Option Shift E in a Mac and Control Alt Shift E for a PC to create a stump of all the visible layers. And I'm going to call this layer Composition, because that's what we did. We actually removed things from the frame that didn't belong or that were destructive. And that's what we always do. We don't change the model because we think it's gonna look pretty, because we change it because we think it's gonna improve the composition. Now it seems the crop is a little off because I removed that part of the arm. So maybe I need to make this arm a little bit thicker to get to the edge and get a nice diagonal line. So now I'm gonna show you a liquify technique that makes liquify faster and with bigger brushes. Because usually in liquify we have very small brushes. So I'm gonna teach you a technique to get bigger brushes, and so liquify is not so small. This is a trick actually, it's not actually a technique. What I usually do is I take the image and I take the size down to 72 dpi. And I take that image into Liquify. Because the Liquify filter works on a mesh. This means that you're not actually doing something to the image until you click OK. You're just moving around a mesh. And now I'm gonna go into the Liquify filter and show you how that works. Because you're just working on a mesh to then apply it on an image. So let's take this composition layer to Liquify. See, this mesh is what you're actually moving when you use the Liquify tools. And this is what I mean with bigger brushes. Now that's a huge brush. So the advantage of having a big brush is that you can push, for example, her back, you can push it in with just one stroke and you don't compromise texture as much as if you had to use a really small brush and just do little strokes to get the back to move in. It wouldn't be even for one, and you would mess a lot with the texture. So having a really big brush allows you to do just one stroke and get the back where you want it, or the neck, or the head, or the hair. This is very useful for retouching hair or moving around hair because you don't mess too much with the texture. You're not doing anything to the actual image, you're just moving around this mesh. You see the lines, how they change in the back? The mesh grid, it means as long as the proportions are the same, the mesh is going to work on any image the same way. So I take the image to 72 dpi, but the same proportions. So I get it into the Liquify filter and I work on a mesh that has the same proportions. What I'm going to do is I'm going to push the back. Now that I saw it, I kind of like it. So, and I'm gonna remove the bumps in the head, in the hair, and I'm gonna try to make the head rounder. Oops. Thank God for Control C. I'm making her head rounder. I'm gonna check if there's any other thing that needs fixed. She has a very little bump in the nose that I'm going to fix. Every change needs to be really subtle when we are dealing with skin. I'm gonna push her chin a little bit because she's smiling, and usually, I don't know if this happens to you, but when I smile, my chin gets bigger. So I'm assuming that she doesn't have such a big chin. I'm gonna push it a little bit in. I'm gonna push her nose up a little bit. Again, really subtle. I'm gonna move the arm, make it a little wider because since I remove all the skin from the back, now it looks a little bit skinny. And I need the arm to actually reach the edge of the image. And I'm gonna help her expression a little bit. She was already lifting an eyebrow. I'm just making it more obvious. And the trill clockwise, what it does is it, well, actually trills the pixels, and just for this image it's like just what I need to make the nose a little bit straighter. And I'm gonna also improve a little bit her bone structure because she has the cheekbone really low, so I'm gonna push the cheekbone up. And there. So just a little bit, we push the cheekbones out and the bottom part of the cheek in. And once we're done all the changes in Liquify, we don't click OK. We need to save this mesh to then load it to the original sized image. Remember, we're working on 72 dpi's. So we save the mesh. In my personal opinion, it's pointless to save each mesh for each image and keep it. So I usually just save one mesh and then replace it over and over again. So now we click cancel and I go to history and I go back a step. We are not going to go to image and change the DPI to 300 again because that would be crazy. We would have no information. So we just, that would be really dumb. So we go back in history and we pretend nothing happened. And now we have our 300 dpi image and we can take it to Liquify, and in a matter of minutes we can load the mesh that we saved, and like that we liquefied an image in full resolution without having to spend 10 hours in Liquify and with really big brushes. And now we see the difference. This is before Liquify and after Liquify. I like the diagonals now. And we are done with the composition.